You know, Kingdom Hearts is pretty special to me. Up until the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, there was this magic, this spark that resonated with me that I could not find in any other video game series. But as we go more and more into the series as years go on, do I really still have that same spark with the story like I used to, or has my opinion changed for the worst? This is a pretty important question for me, so let's go through every game, more or less, and talk about the story overall. By the end of this video, I'm sure I'll be able to give you an answer to said question, but also to answer a question you, who may be watching, may have when it comes to the series. Is the story of Kingdom Hearts good, or is it convoluted as many people say? Let's get started. Let's go back in time a little to the first entry in the series, Kingdom Hearts 1. A very simple time and a very simple story to follow. In Kingdom Hearts 1, you have your three main characters, Sora, Riku, and Kairi. Sora being the awesome, always positive guy who can find the good in anyone and anything. Riku, the older and seemingly jealous one of the main character in the group. I'm half kidding. I hated Riku back in the day, but as the game went on and his character development grew, I love this guy to death. And last but not least, Kairi, the cute girl next door. These kids work toward an objective of leaving their little island. Well, islands. You know, I'll never understand why they waited so long to show they had another island they lived on. Anyway, yes, all three kids wanted to leave their island in order to venture into other worlds, which is a major trope in the Kingdom Hearts games. Moving on though, not everything goes as planned and weird things start to happen, which leads the three friends into different worlds and being split up, and it's up to Sora, or you, the main player, to find your missing friends. Of course, you meet iconic characters such as Donald Duck and Goofy, and also other characters from the popular franchise Final Fantasy, all of which tell you about your weapon, yeah, that giant key in your hand, the Keyblade, and what to really use it for, which would be to fight the forces of darkness and to seal these things called the keyholes, which are found in every world. So now you have the groundwork for your story, and simply put, it's a damn good way to start a story. You have very nice characters that, in my case, I can relate a lot to. None of them seem unrealistic or unbelievable at all. Granted, Sora's shoe size leaves a lot for the imagination, but I digress. Moving on, Kingdom Hearts 1's story doesn't answer a lot of your questions right away, and that, in my opinion, makes for really good storytelling. It keeps you hooked and wanting to play more in order to understand more. What is this giant key? Where did it come from? Where are my friends? Are they safe? Why are these evil, funny-looking people trying to stop me? And all the while, the feeling of importance that you have to do this turns into something like, I want to do this. And it really takes a hold of the player and makes you want to play more. One important thing to point out though is that in Kingdom Hearts 1, no matter what world you went to, albeit one world I'm not really fond of, Square made sure to interweave the main story of the game while also mixing in the story of the Disney worlds. Here, let me explain what I mean. When you go to a Disney World, you are faced with a problem that its inhabitants are having to deal with on a daily basis, whether it be a heartless problem, a court case, what have you. There is something going on in that world. Even though the worlds themselves have their own things going on, Kingdom Hearts 1 mixes in the real story of the games by having the villains play an important role. For example, when you go to Neverland and it's full of other iconic characters such as Peter Pan and Captain Hook, but oh snap, look, it's Kairi and Riku, both of your friends that you've been searching for this entire time. Oh look, Captain Hook and Riku are trying to stop you from getting near Kairi. That is something I really enjoy that Kingdom Hearts 1 did 100% correct, making all of the important factors in your game, well, important. As the series goes on though, there is less and less of this, and with having the common theme of going to multiple worlds in every game, you would imagine all the games after Kingdom Hearts 1 would follow suit, right? Why am I laughing at this? This is sad for me. This perfectly transitions into the next game in the series, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. Now with Chain of Memories being a bridge game before the big Kingdom Hearts 2, the story shouldn't be that hard to follow, right? Well, in actuality, it's really not. Sora and Co venture into a mysterious castle where they find that the more they progress into it, the more memories they lose that they obtained in the first game. Your mission is to figure out this mysterious tower, I mean castle, and get down to the bottom of it while also looking for Riku and King Mickey. All the while, the game introduces new characters and teases them to be different from regular people. These new characters are pretty much big obstacles, but also guides for Sora and Co as they try to achieve their big plan, and in a way you find an attraction to these characters because you want to learn more about them, what they truly want, so on and so forth. While I would like to take the time to really delve deep into Chain of Memories, it's a pretty simple story to follow. Nothing too hard or difficult to understand, nothing I would really call a mistake. The game doesn't really go back on anything it really set up for in Kingdom Hearts 1, but really just adds a little spin on it, and all the while still makes for a very enjoyable storytelling experience. If I did have to give you one complaint, it's that the Disney worlds that you have to go through, which by the way, you're just revisiting the same worlds over again for a different reason, it doesn't really hold any significance as to why you really have to go there in the first place. Just like I explained earlier with how Kingdom Hearts 1 did this very thing so well, by mixing the plot of the game and whatever shenanigans the world in question is up to. Sure, one of the bad guys gives you a card and says, "Lol, bye, have fun, K, thanks," and the game tries to portray that it's really necessary in order to try and reclaim your lost memories, but there is no big threat in said worlds, there is no underlying reason to really be there at all, other than being forced to. You know, to advance the story, which by the way really only advances when you are back in the castle and not in the worlds themselves. Huh, funny how that works. Other than that though, I can't really say Chain of Memories had a negative effect on the series, and I really respect that as bridge games usually find a way to lessen the impact the first game ever had. Ooh, good old Kingdom Hearts 2, my favorite. Kingdom Hearts 2 starts off by introducing a bunch of new characters to the mix without any kind of warning, really. You have Roxas.
Really?
I never want to play as Roxas again.
Yeah, that's rough.
First, like, you're in like a fake dreamland as this garbage character nobody cares about.
And a bunch of Roxas's friends. It really just tells the story of Roxas's days with his friends during their summer vacation and sets itself up as the tutorial part of the game. While you were playing as Roxas though, the game gives you big hints that Roxas is connected to the character you really know, Sora. Kingdom Hearts 2 definitely builds up on the groundwork that Kingdom Hearts 1 originally had. You are still the wielder of an oversized key, you are still looking for your friends, and all the while are going to Disney worlds that you have either visited before or are completely new to in order to, of course, fix any problems they may have. And much like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 2 suffers from the same problem, but to a lesser extent. While you are traveling to all these different worlds, very little real story elements are really touched upon in said Disney worlds. Really, it's just a retelling of its movie counterparts with added, "Oh look, an organization member who won't do or say anything important for advancing the plot standing right there," which is the name given to those shady people you met back in Chain of Memories, by the way. It doesn't really go any farther than that. Now, if it's a Kingdom Hearts original world, then Kingdom Hearts 2 is doing great things, really exposing the story as you, the player, care about the most, answering a bunch of questions that you could even link back to the very first game, and making the Kingdom Hearts universe seem a lot bigger, though I guess it's up to the individual to see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. In my case, it's both. There were plenty of plot points that were introduced that were indeed interesting to me, but also were introduced for the sake of trying to make the universe more serious than it really was, or trying to really surprise the players a tad too much, like, how in the world did that, how does that work? And this, where did you get that? Ah, man. Well, you guys get the point. Even through all of that, Kingdom Hearts 2 wrapped up everything from the first two games so nicely. I love it, even through any faults it may have, as they are pretty minor. Every time I see that Kingdom Hearts 2 ending where Sora and Riku come back home and Kairi welcomes them back and says the words, "You're home," with that sanctuary after the battle playing in the background, and I get in my feelings every time I think about it. The three kids, now older, who set out to venture from their island and wanted so bad to get to other worlds, found each other again, and made it their mission to make it back to the island they so desperately wanted to get away from in the beginning. I truly think the concept behind that idea is beautiful, and Kingdom Hearts 2 wrapped it up perfectly. And then we see a secret movie at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 that hinted at a new Kingdom Hearts game that was possibly in the works. Did you think it was Kingdom Hearts 3? Don't worry, you can be honest, I won't judge you or anything for it. In my case, I just thought it was a new title, not Kingdom Hearts 3, but just a new Kingdom Hearts title, and because of that I got so excited. A new serious Kingdom Hearts game in years? Oh boy am I ready. Or so I thought until I got to it. Okay, the next entry in the series, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I guess you could call it the turning point. I'm fucking hilarious. Seriously though, check out Bloody's video in the description below, it's one of my favorites. Birth by Sleep is where, in my opinion, there are more things done wrong than done right in terms of both story and gameplay, but I'm sure you guys already know that last part. Anyway, Birth by Sleep introduces a few new characters, but let's focus on the main three, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. Remember when I said earlier that there were a few things that were done in the games that really tried to expand the KH universe, be it good or bad? Well, in Birth by Sleep's case, I feel as though they tried to make Birth by Sleep, the entire game, exactly that. But limit, it's a prequel, of course it would try to expand the KH universe. Listen, of course I know that, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Listen closely. What Birth by Sleep tries to do, especially with its characters, the main three, is try to find an excuse to again expand the Kingdom Hearts universe. They do this in a somewhat negative way with Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. How? Well, let's start with Ventus. What true purpose does Ventus have in the story of Kingdom Hearts? To have given Sora, the main character of KH1, a Keyblade. And this links back to something Bloody said in his video, where one of the main things that empowered a player to really enjoy and play Kingdom Hearts 1 was the fact that the game portrayed the Keyblade as this ultimate legendary weapon that only you have. But when you try to make a character who can't stand on his own two legs without the fact that he is deeply connected with the main character, it's a problem. If you want us to care about your story, then give us characters we can truly care about. You know, why they do certain things, their ambitions, their dreams, etc, etc. You can only use the I want to be a Keyblade Master thing so many times for so many characters. Of course, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy a lot of things that Birth by Sleep did that expanded the universe correctly. For example, having Castle Oblivion really be the land of departure in disguise, and having a really good setup toward that. Or the fact that they wanted to connect the parallel that the three best friends from Birth by Sleep have a connection with the three best friends from Destiny Islands. They just didn't go about it in the best way. Moving on to Terra, I guess the only problem I have with Terra would be the fact of how, again, the Keyblade was passed down to Riku from him, and I would just be repeating myself again when I say it just ignores what Kingdom Hearts 1 set up for the Keyblade entirely. Does the Keyblade get passed down, or does it choose its wielder? Is it inherited by blood, or all the above? And before someone tells me to read the Ultimanias, trust me on this. I have read all of Ultimania, and I know what Nomura says, but you can't expect every person involved with the franchise to look up some long-lost interview done years back to try and piece together the story. You would imagine the game would be able to explain and expand on certain areas that the player would have questions on, which it tried to do with the Keyblade and failed. Other than that, people like to bring up that Terra is stupid for his actions, and while I already made a whole video talking about that, I will just say this. If I were put in Terra's shoes, oblivious as he may have been, he was truly confused, and with what, a friend of your father figure telling you this and that, I would believe him too, but only to a certain extent. And that is when people start having a problem with Terra's actions, but I digress. All in all, I would not call Terra a negative force in the story at all. As for Aqua, I really don't have any problems with her character, and I believe it was handled the best out of the three. Well, except for this part.
Yep, I think you might be absolutely right. If you ask me, she must be somebody pretty extraordinary.
If anything, Aqua's character in Birth by Sleep is really to take care and follow the mess the other two characters make, and it's weird for me to say this, but because I feel for her, that is my main reason for liking her character. Even though she does try to fix everything, in the end it's all for naught and she's cast away to some hell where she can't escape. I think that's enough for me to like her, honestly. And so now that we got the three main characters out of the way, are there any other bad aspects that really put a damper on the story? I can't say that there is. I enjoy characters such as Ericus and Xehanort, mostly Xehanort as he is the main antagonist of the series. It only makes sense to tie him in, and Birth by Sleep did this very well, showing that he is indeed a force to be reckoned with. As long as you have characters I can care about, and maybe this goes for you guys watching as well, but that means I can still get some type of enjoyment out of the game, even with some major inconsistencies here and there. Which leads to things like the secret and final episodes of Birth by Sleep, as well as the Blank Points cutscene. Those, in my opinion, are the best parts of Birth by Sleep, but notice that the main focus of them are really Aqua and Xehanort, the most interesting characters in the game, with an occasional Ventus and Terra here and there. And while I am not saying that I just completely dislike the characters of Ventus and Terra, no, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. If you take away the two interesting characters that really make the story in the end away from the cast of numerous people, that's not really good storytelling, because then the story would fall completely on its face. And that just goes back to the point of, once again, trying to expand the Kingdom Hearts universe. Now, note that I hadn't covered 358 over 2 days yet. I view Days to really be both backstory and a somewhat character development type game for Roxas and those involved with him. As this is the case, I am not going to cover it since I view the Days story as nothing negative, but really a positive addition to help flesh out characters and their motives. Wish I could really be that positive about the gameplay. Moving on to the next game, it would be Kingdom Hearts Recoded, and well, if you were involved with the series, you know the entire thing is basically filler with the exception of the ending, and the added scenes from the HD collections, but for the sake of the viewers, I will cover Recoded in 30 seconds. Let's go. Taking place after Kingdom Hearts 2, Mickey and friends are trying to figure out a certain message that was left in the journal that Jiminy did not write. They awaken Data Sora in order for him to traverse the worlds fighting these things called bugs in a so-called universe known as the Datascape in order to find a clue. After Data Sora gets bodied by Maleficent, Data Sora goes back to save the very woman he just got bodied by before losing all his memories so that the journal can be complete. Later he encounters Zeta Roxas. They fight, which somehow leads Data Sora to learn Hurt, which in some form is passed on to the real Sora. He learns that there is people that he must save. Once that is established, he cuts back to Mickey writing the very same letter at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2 and tells us exactly what it said. And that sets up for the next entry in the series, Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Jesus, I should never try to speak that fast again. Whew. Anyway, yes, most of Recoded is pretty pointless and just like Days has no real negative effect on the main story in any way. One very interesting thing to come out of Recoded was the extra scenes leading up to Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, and it also hints with the mobile title Kingdom Hearts Key. And as much as I want to just talk about my misgivings with Key's story, trying to be involved with the main story, I won't, but instead we'll move on to the next title. I truly don't know if I'm ready to talk about this game since there is a bit to talk about. I am aware most people have been waiting for this part, and I'll be frank, as more and more time passes, I do get more dissatisfied with the writing and direction Dream Drop Distance has taken. Starting with the story though, taking it at face value, not many people would really have a problem with it. Sora and Riku are taking their Mark of Mastery exam in order to become true masters, and in the process gain the necessary training and power needed to take on Xehanort, while also gaining specific abilities that will help them aid their friends who were lost long ago. That alone is pretty much the groundwork for Dream Drop Distance. Nothing too far-fetched out of this world, right? A nice simple addition to the story, correct? Well, as much as I wish I could say that, I truly can't. If I had to describe Dream Drop in one word, that word would be retcon. The definition reads, a piece of new information that imposes a different interpretation on previously described events typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or account for an inconsistency. How does it do this, you may ask? Well, if you've played Dream Drop, you are aware of the whole time travel aspect that was introduced near the end of the game. Basically, Xehanort's plan was to make multiple versions of himself using different versions of himself from the past along other characters he seemed to deem worthy to take pieces of his heart in order to create 13 darknesses to go up against the 7 lights in a future battle. You could say that perhaps maybe I don't have a problem with the whole splitting your heart thing, but how specifically time travel is just shoehorned in, and how all of a sudden this version of time travel has rules you have to follow. There have been multiple examples of Keyblade wielders being able to stop and or bend time accordingly, but I believe even in the young Xehanort fight in Dream Drop Distance, he can go back in time before he was hurt.
Upon arrival, you can only move forward as per the laws of time. And you cannot rewrite the events that are destined to happen.
But wait, we just fought 5 minutes ago and you went back and... I need some aspirin. There's also the fact that if you're going back and forth through time for this greater purpose, what is the point when it is stated in the game that you cannot change things that are destined to happen? Sure, you can influence things to happen, but as it is confirmed, you lose your memories, and the fact that you cannot change the future, it's contradicting itself. Other than the whole time travel thing, I myself cannot think of anything else Dream Drop Distance is particularly guilty of. The entire game is set up to try to explain this whole time travel plot device from the very beginning. Theoretically, if you take it away, you just have Sora and Riku going about to different worlds helping people and doing their Mark of Mastery exam, which I would have preferred greatly over this half-explained time travel plot device. Even then, it's hard to say that since from the very beginning of the game to the very end, it always links back to time travel when it honestly didn't have to do that at all. Here, for a good example of time travel done right, in my opinion, let's go over to the Nintendo 3DS game Fire Emblem Awakening. Minor spoilers. In Awakening, time travel has a pre-established base. It answers the question of how is time travel possible in the first place. In the game, one of the main characters, Lucina, goes back in time to a point where a great travesty has not happened and she wishes to prevent the past from becoming like her future is. That explanation alone probably begs the question of, what's the point of trying to change the past when the future is already in ruins? What does she have to gain from keeping the past safe? And that is the beauty of Awakening. In the game, it is explained that there are the possibilities of multiple timelines and that even if her future is not changed, which it isn't, she just wants to save people, those being friends and the family that is connected to her from having to go through what she has gone through in the future, resulting to a peaceful future where everyone is happy. time travel in Awakening also makes sure to let the player know that it is indeed making use of the butterfly effect. If you don't know what the butterfly effect is, it's where the small changes made in a timeline actually cause great changes toward that timeline. So while Lucina is trying to make sure certain events don't happen here and there in the past, the butterfly effect kicks in and causes a lot of bad situations to happen a lot earlier than they should, resulting in the changing of things that were meant to happen greatly. What I appreciate the most in Awakening is its use of time travel in its story. The story isn't flipped upside down on its head, nothing from the story that is pre-established is taken away from whatsoever, even after they introduce the time travel mechanic, which is pretty early in the game, and the best thing that really resonates with me is that you know from the start that even if the person in question is time traveling, they know, as well as the player, that no matter what you are doing, it's not all for naught, and doesn't get me begging the question of, what is the point of all this? Which is the type of feeling I get with Dream Drop Distance. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for a gigantic plot twist that makes the story more interesting in the end, but the way you don't go about said plot twist is not having every single detail about it in the game. How did they find out about time travel? Did Zayden or any of his past selves for some reason or another specialize in time-based magic? Sora and Riku went back in time in the beginning of the game, but how come they didn't give up their bodies? And I figure I should go ahead and let you know that the questions I just asked above are rhetorical questions. Because if I didn't say that, I would get statements like this in the comments. But Limit, in the Dream Drop Distance Ultimania from 5 years ago, Nomura completely says and explains this and that and this and that, but that's just it. I said this earlier in the video, but if you have to get the rest of the story, which is pretty important to the overall plot of the games, mind you, from these Japanese interviews you have to search very deep for, that's not good storytelling, as it leaves these unexplained quote-unquote plot holes in the story. Am I saying that Dream Drop Distance ruined the entire story of Kingdom Hearts? God, no. Am I saying Dream Drop Distance should have never been a thing? Again, no, that's just being overdramatic. What I am saying is that for any future games in this series, if you want to try and link things with a new plot device, make sure it connects and coincides with everything from the past titles, and to also make sure that everything is explained in the game so we don't have to search through interviews online. All in all, I don't hate Dream Drop Distance, I just believe that it could have been handled a tad better near the end. If it had just been a Mark of Mastery test with a well-explained plot twist at the end that sets up for Kingdom Hearts 3, I would have been at least somewhat happy with it. And while it did just do that, it didn't do it in a great manner. Now that we are done with Dream Drop Distance though, I figure I should go ahead and talk shortly about the last two titles before we are completely caught up. Kingdom Hearts 0.2 and Kingdom Hearts Key / Kingdom Hearts Key back cover. Well, I could just do a whole plot summary for 0.2 and drag this video out even longer, I won't. It's pretty much on the same level as Days, and what I mean by that before I get angry mobs of people outside my home is that 0.2's purpose was to really fill in the gap between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 2, during Aqua's entrapment in the Realm of Darkness. It didn't really have any negative effects on the story whatsoever, and even had a little setup for the upcoming title, Kingdom Hearts 3. As for Kingdom Hearts Key and Kingdom Hearts Key back cover, I don't want to jump the gun and say this and that are negative or positive for the story, since as of right now, we are unsure if it really has any real effect on them. Who am I kidding? It probably does. It has Marluxia and Vind and Maleficent, and people think that Brain is the cousin of him, and even so, if it does have any real effect, and whether or not I have a problem with this side story having possible ties with the main story, is a whole other video that will have to come at a different time. So yeah, that's about it, and we are pretty much caught up on my opinions and such on every game in the series as of right now. And it's time to answer that important question: do I think the story of Kingdom Hearts is convoluted, or do I think it's good? Well, as I'm sure you guys could tell, or heck, maybe you couldn't, but I do believe the story of Kingdom Hearts to be, well, in a word, alright. From the time of Kingdom Hearts 1 to Rechain of Memories to Kingdom Hearts 2, I had that really special feeling in my heart. I was completely head over heels for the story of Kingdom Hearts, wanting to know all of its mysteries and secrets. No really complicated things to really understand, albeit a couple things, but even then the story had a set path and I loved it to death. But then, with the entry of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, some new things were introduced that either diluted or completely voided pre-established bases that were set in the first games. And with the inclusion of Dream Drop Distance, and at this point in the story, maybe even Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, it really made me lose a bit of interest in the overall story, since it went from a story filled with magic and wonder to a story that seemingly is made to make fans happy. when it was already doing a fantastic job with that before. I feel as though that feeling, that magic I had with the story of Kingdom Hearts, isn't as prominent anymore. Sure, I still love this series to death, it's my favorite game series of all time. The feeling is still there inside me, but it's lessening with each new wild element they're starting to throw at us. My hope is that with Kingdom Hearts 3, that I have that same magical feeling I have when I play or think about how the story used to be. Simple but full of mystery. That want to know the rest of the story. I want that to be as prominent as it used to be. I would not go so far as to call the entire series convoluted, but there are definitely multiple areas that can be called just that. I will always love Kingdom Hearts until the day I pass, but I just hope that one day it can get itself back on track again. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I want to thank everyone so much for taking the time to watch the entire video. This really took a long time to make since in the beginning I wasn't sure what direction I wanted it to go in, but I can say I'm really happy with the result. If you enjoyed any of it, please leave a like as it really helps me out. If you agree with some things but disagree with others, please leave a comment in the comment section below so we can have a nice discussion about it. And if you're new to the channel and have come across this video, consider subscribing. It means a lot and it helps me out a ton. Any and all support would be very appreciated, honestly, as this video almost killed me. But no, seriously, thank you guys again so much for watching. It's been Limit472, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh, and I'm sorry for not uploading as of late. Life is just, well, life. I know I always say this, but I mean it this time. You will not get a break in videos like this again unless I just can't help it. I hope this video made up for my little absence, and yeah, once again, I will see you guys in the next video. I am so thankful and grateful for you guys being here. It just makes my day, honestly. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.